Welcome to our video on Mercury Transit across the face of the Sun's disk on November 11th of 2019, occurring in the sign of Scorpio the Scorpion. Now, the Mercury Transit and Venus Transit across the face of the Sun, these things happen very infrequently, actually. And the Mercury type events, where we have Mercury visibly transiting across the Sun's disk, visibly from most of Earth, that does happen more than Venus transiting visibly like that. So Mercury, it happens more frequently. And they're both, by the way, the morning stars. The morning stars. Now, Mercury transit have about 12 to 14 occurrences per 100 years. And the last Mercury transit occurred on May 9th of 2016. So 2016, May 9th was the last time there was a Mercury transit. And the next one's going to happen on November 13th in the year 2032. Now, November's transit in 2019, again, it's on the 11th, November 11th. It's going to last about almost 6 hours, and it's going to begin at 12:35 Greenwich Mean Time, or just the universal, coordinated universal time, and it's going to end at 18:04 universal time. So that starts at 12, ends at 18:04. Now, this event will be visible in Europe. It's going to be visible in North America, Australia, Japan, also South America, Asia, Africa, New Zealand, and it's going to also be visible from both the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of people are going to be able to see this. Now, Mercury's transit across the Sun occurs in a straight line. Although, with that said, it will appear to curve from our Earth's perspective. It appears to have like a curve, although it actually happens in a straight line. I'm Pastor Rosemary, by the way. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel, and I'm a Rosicrucian seer, a biblical astrologer, a Christian psychic, and a Gnostic mystic. And this is the Readings by Rosemary Angelic Transmission. I'm going to give you some of the Archangels here and some fun things to do for this event that can help pull in some planetary energies if you want to do some magic. And a disclaimer, therefore, is in order now. We just want to tell you this is for entertainment purposes only, because high magic can be very powerful. So just for entertainment only. Okay, now the angels, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the planetary formula, and as well as the for this event, as well as, again, the planetary archangels and the zodiac angels that are going to be involved in this transit of Mercury across the solar disk. Again, these angels can be evoked, which is to call upon. They can be invoked, which is to call into oneself, or invoked into one's sacred circle. And that's for the purpose of gathering the angelic frequencies, which will align any magical currents one might want to utilize for this celestial event. Okay, now regarding during this 2019 transit of Mercury, both Mercury and the Sun are going to be, both of them, in the sign of Scorpio the Scorpion. Okay, and that's analogous to the natural 8th house of birth, sex, death, and debt. So those are very vital and essential milestone areas of life. And so both the Sun and Mercury, both in Scorpio, while Mercury transits across the solar disk. So Mercury is also going to be retrograde on November 11th, while Mercury is transiting across the Sun, and also while both are transiting through Scorpio. So retrograde for Mercury, okay, and also in the same sign, the Sun and Mercury. So we have some interesting things for you here. Now, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, what that does and what that causes is that it causes vital or essential or important messaging and transportation systems. The systems could experience disruption. Therefore, make sure to have usable alternatives, like have a plan B, okay? Have your plan A and have a plan B. So for any kind of important messaging that you might want to do on November 11th, or any important places you got to go, any transportation, the systems that deal with that, because of this transit, because the retrograde Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, while this is going on, and the Sun in Scorpio, and the events could be important to you, you want to always have a plan B or an alternate transportation or an alternate messaging system on that day for that event. Okay, now Sun in Scorpio. When the Sun's in Scorpio, there's usually a disclosure of what was heretofore secret or clandestine, and those projects are brought to light. So that's what happens when the Sun is in Scorpio. So the planetary archangel for Mercury is the Archangel Raphael, who's a divine physician and the healer of God. Raphael, the divine physician and the healer of God. Now, Raphael is the archangel of all of the air signs, and also of the planet Mercury. Okay. Also the planet Mercury, so that's for Raphael. Now, the planetary archangel for the Sun, for Soul, for the Sun, is the Archangel Michael, who is the warrior and champion of God. Archangel Michael, the champion and warrior of God. Now, the zodiac angel for Scorpio is Barchiel, whose divine tone is I create. So we've got Raphael for Mercury, Michael for the Sun, those are planetary angels, and the zodiac angel for Scorpio, which the Sun and Mercury will both be transiting through, is Barchiel. Barchiel is for Scorpio, okay, and the divine tone for Scorpio is I create. Okay, I create. And remember, with every I create, or whatever the positive aspect, there's always the negative aspect. You cannot have the positive without the negative. And in Kabbalah, it's something they teach you in Kabbalah, that there's two faces. It's like two sides of a coin. You have heads and tails. So like for Leo as I will, this Leo's not involved in this particular transit. I'm just using it as an example. Then the opposite of that is no, I won't. And where Aries is I am, it's also I am not. And where Scorpio, which the Sun and Mercury are transiting through during this event, where the divine tone is I create, there's also the I destroy, is the other side of that. So that's why powerful things with Scorpio, okay? So you want to use that creative energy in a good way. Remember, some destruction can be creative, like, how you might have to take something apart before you put it back together properly, something like that, or how you shuffle cards before you lay them out in a pattern to read them. There has to be chaos and destruction to shuffle them, to give you a fresh start, and then there has to be order, and there has to be creation in order to create the pattern, to lay the cards out and read the cards. So that's one example of that. Now, the tarot card that's used for Mercury is the Magician card. The Magician card is the card that is used for the planet Mercury. That's the tarot card that's analogous for it. Okay, and the musical note, our tuning fork, the musical note is the note of E. So E, and we have the Magician card. So that's how you can bring in some of these powerful angelic forces and frequencies. You can use the tone of E. Again, E. Okay. Now, for the Sun, okay, so that was for Mercury, okay, Magician and E, the note E is for Mercury, okay, and Raphael for Mercury. Now, for the Sun, again, we said it was Michael, or Michael is the planetary archangel for the Sun, or Soul. The tarot card for the Sun is a tarot card of the Sun. Tarot card of the Sun. That's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to remember. It represents the conscious mind. Okay, and the musical note for the Sun, the Soul, that goes with that, and it goes with Michael or Michael, planetary archangel, is D. D. It's a little bit of lower note. D. Okay. And for Scorpio now. For Scorpio, again, the Zodiac angel is Barchiel. And the tarot card is the Death card. The Death card for Scorpio, the Scorpion. It's associated with the Hebrew letter Nun, which means fish. It's associated with the Death card. And the musical note is the musical note of G. G. Okay? And notice the Death card isn't only about death and the skeleton on it. It's also, notice the magnificent, very alive, and very powerful horse that Death is riding on. It's very, very much alive. Very much alive in the 3D world, very creative. So understand that there's also a lot of life. That there's, within life there's death, within death there's life, within yang there's yin, within yin there's yang, within every curse there's a blessing, within every blessing there's a curse, as my parish priest had said in one of his sermons. So remember, there's always light and dark and light and day and night, and there's male and female, and we have to use these things together, and we can say that one is not bad and one is not good, but something could be, it's all whatever is convenient for the person, as Aleister Crowley talked about in some of his writings, how convenience, if a person kills a cockroach, it's great for the person who killed the cockroach, it's bad for the cockroach. Depends on which side of that equation you're on, whether something's good or bad. So just think about that. Think about how it's more about balancing everything and making sure that everything is as healthy as possible and taking the whole system into account. We want to make sure the whole system is being taken care of, because we're part of that system. Well, thank you for joining us and for this fun little video on the Mercury Transit across the solar disk on November 11, 2019. And information found in this document is based on the oral tradition known as Kabbalah, taught to me by Rosicrucian clergy when I was but a young girl, the facts of which I've committed to memory. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again.